TikTok was banned, but now it's back. But it's not the same as it was before. We need to talk about the lasting impact of the whiplash that was the banning and unbanning of TikTok and what it means for content creators. Specifically, what we as content creators need to do to protect ourselves and our small businesses moving forward from the unpredictability of these social media platforms that ultimately we have no control over. Hey, if you're new here, I'm Katie, and while I don't live in the United States, I'm actually Canadian, I am in the US currently, and let me tell you, it was a wild time to be here. This is the basic timeline in case you're not familiar of exactly what went down during the TikTok ban. Saturday night, TikTok stopped working. We got this notification. I turned my VPN on to Canada. I was able to access it, though my understanding is Americans weren't. I think it's because I'm registered for TikTok with a Canadian phone number. In the brief time that TikTok was offline for Americans, I dove into Commonwealth talk. Wow, what a time to be alive. But I still continued to see all the goodbye videos from the American creators, so it's not like their content disappeared. Only one short night later on Sunday morning, TikTok starts working in the US again. It's tempting to feel like this is a blip and that everything is back to normal, but I don't think it is. Interestingly, TikTok and CapCut are still not available in the App Store in the US. At least that's what I've been hearing from some of you on Instagram who deleted the app in anticipation of the ban, and now that it's back are trying to download it again, and you can't. I have no idea when it might be back again, but I'll be curious to see. I think the first lesson that we can take away from all of this wackiness, don't depend on a single platform for your audience and your income. It's important to diversify your content strategy across multiple platforms. But if you followed me for a while, you'll know I am really a proponent of not spreading yourself too thin. I think some people get tempted in the social media game to post on like every platform as consistently as possible, and that is a recipe for burnout. However, it is kind of dangerous to have all of your eggs in one basket. So here's what I think the solution is. I think it's good to have about 2 different social media platforms that you primarily invest in. For me personally, that's YouTube and Instagram. You focus on those 2 platforms and you develop a strategy that is sustainable and kind of burnout proof for you. Maybe that includes some repurposing content. Maybe that includes using the same ideas in different formats across those platforms, but pick 2. So you're not completely just invested in one. I do personally advocate for YouTube being one of your choices because I think it's proven to be one of the more reliable platforms. I'm also increasingly curious about Blue Sky. I feel like that platform has seen a lot of growth lately. I myself have just kind of gotten over there. It's a little bit harder to get into because you do need to curate your own feed by choosing who to follow, but I think that's also why it's kind of like a more healthy place to be. I would encourage you to check it out and explore a little bit. I'm thinking about doing some experimenting with posting some content over there. Let me know in the comments if you'd like to see a video about that, because I can definitely document the process and kind of share my thoughts on if I think Blue Sky would be like a viable alternative to say like Instagram and TikTok. But anyway, you got to pick what's right for you. In addition to these 2 social media platforms where you post consistently, you're also going to want to send your audience from those platforms to a third place that you have more control over. So maybe that's an email list, maybe that's a Discord server, a Patreon, some kind of membership, whatever it is. Use those 2 social media platforms as a place to like drive traffic to that third place. This way, you're not fully dependent on just one app for reaching your audience and, making your living. Lesson number 2, and I'm going to hold your hand while I say this. Don't use social media platforms as your file storage. I saw so many people desperately running to download all of their past TikToks before the ban happened. And listen, okay, as a content creator, the content that you make is an asset to your business, and you should treat it like that. First of all those videos you make, you could repost them to a different platform. You could use them as part of a portfolio to show your editing skills to potential freelance clients. You could use them as examples of your work if you're pitching yourself to brands for like UGC. There's so many practical applications of having your content on hand. So please don't rely on like Instagram or TikTok or even YouTube to store all of your videos forever. Get yourself an external hard drive and start saving all of your files to that. Like, keep a physical copy of them. You can get an external hard drive and plug it in directly to your phone and start transferring videos and photos over to it. In my opinion, storage on hard drives is a lot cheaper and more reliable than like cloud storage, especially if you're diligent and you keep a backup. But yeah, just whatever you do, don't depend on social platforms to store your videos because you never know when they could go away and they're valuable to you. Lesson number 3, learn to edit outside of these apps. So funny story, I made a video a few months ago about why DaVinci Resolve is the best free editing software for YouTubers, and that video started to pop off right around the time that TikTok and CapCut were going to be banned. So yes, CapCut, owned by the same company as TikTok, also subject to the ban. A lot of people were freaking out because they depend on it for editing their videos. I really, really want to make the case for you to learn how to edit videos in whether it's Premiere Pro, DaVinci Resolve, Final Cut Pro. I really, really think while it might be intimidating, it is a huge asset to have as a content creator. Because honestly, if you learn any of these like desktop-based non-linear video editors, once you know how to do it in one of them, like you can transfer those skills very easily. I edited in Premiere Pro for like 15 years. I learned DaVinci Resolve in just like a month or so. I became comfortable with it. So once you learn one, it's very transferable to the others. And honestly, like it's just more reliable than these random mobile editing apps. Like I'm just gonna be honest with you, it is. I really think if you've only ever edited inside like the Instagram Reels editor or the TikTok editor or even CapCut, like it's kind of a crutch in a sense because it really, really like babies you through the editing process and makes it like so easy. And I think that's a great way to lower the barrier to entry to brand new creators. But I think as you continue to grow as a creator and as you continue to level up your skills, it's really great to get to the point where you can edit stuff yourself from scratch rather than depending on like templates or presets. Plus, it is such a valuable and transferable skill to have if you learn how to edit in one of these like pro level editors. You could use that for future jobs or careers or for freelance work in a much more serious way than like knowing how to edit in CapCut will help you in the future, if that makes sense. Like for example, if my career as a content creator really slowed down and I like wasn't able to do this anymore, I know that I could go out there and get freelance work as a video editor. It's kind of like a good backup thing to have on your resume. And I know that it can feel scary to dive in, but I just want to tell you, like, I know that you think you need CapCut in order to make videos, but I think you should give yourself more credit. You can edit in something like DaVinci Resolve or Premiere Pro. I 100% believe in you. It just takes a little practice, but I know you can do it. And in fact, I think you'll actually find that your workflow speeds up when you switch to something like that. Lesson number 4. Individuals don't really care about data privacy, but governments should. Hear me out on this one because despite how it might sound, I swear to you, I am not in favor of the TikTok ban. Here's the funny thing. As we saw TikTok become unusable in the US, we saw a huge rush of Americans going over to this new app called Red Note. Ironically, from the perspective of the US government anyway, Red Note is also a Chinese-owned social media app. And all of these users, myself included, of course, you know I made an account, did not stop and pause to read the terms and conditions of this app or think about the implications of giving them our data. It made it kind of hard because the terms and conditions were in Chinese, so evidently though, that's not seen as a national security threat. Speaking of that, it's questionable in my mind as to whether there was ever substantial evidence showing that TikTok is a national security threat to the United States.
When they brought this ban up for a vote, they said it's a national security issue, it's a national security issue. I said, okay, that's serious. Let's see the case. Let's see the intelligence. Let's see what's going on. I can tell you that what was presented to all of the members voting on this thing was not very compelling. There was no real information that was given that was a smoking gun, that was anything specific. It was very vague, not convincing, and frankly, it was not convincing to many other members as well.
It just all feels so theatrical because all the while, Trump gets to claim that he's saving TikTok even though he was the first one to propose the ban back in 2020. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, all those little pop-up notifications that we were getting from TikTok before it shut down and during its shutdown, it was very much giving propaganda. But like this TikTok so succinctly and poetically puts it, truly, no one else was in the room where it happened. I can't play it because of copyright, but definitely I'll link it below so you can watch it with the music. I'm not even gonna try to speculate on what exactly went down to get TikTok unbanned so quickly. Maybe we'll learn more as time goes on. Probably not. What we do know for sure is TikTok voluntarily banned itself a day early on January 18th. It started showing these notifications saying that they were working with President Trump on the issue. Trump was not yet inaugurated when they were saying that. And in fact, TikTok started working again before the inauguration actually happened. So as far as I can tell, TikTok was operating illegally on the promise from Donald Trump that he's not going to fine them. And then of course, following his inauguration, Donald Trump passed an executive order pushing the ban or sell date forward 75 days. So it's not that the bill from Congress has been completely vetoed or whatever, but he's just pushed it forward 75 days. So we'll see what happens then. A quick aside on some concerns about censorship, which a lot of you expressed to me over on Instagram. TikTok is so clearly capitulating to Trump here with all of this "thank you, President Trump" stuff in the notifications. And it definitely does worry me for the future of censorship on the app. Following Meta's turn towards the mega, which I covered in this video about it, we've seen some increased instances of censorship on Instagram. On the day of the inauguration, for example, searches for terms like Democrat were turning up no results in the fashion of search terms that are deemed sensitive content. A similar thing was happening if you would search other Democrat-related terms like DNC. However, suspiciously, if you searched RNC, that would not happen. I'll link the article in the description that covered that. This is all in addition to the issues that I talked about in the last video about LGBTQ content being censored by Meta. So basically, we've established, this is what happens on an app when its leadership is pandering to Trump. So what does that mean for TikTok? I also just wanted to quickly address a conspiracy theory that I've seen going around that's surprisingly popular. A lot of people are convinced that Meta has bought TikTok. I just want to say that at this moment, we have zero evidence of that. A lot of this started because, now Facebook and Instagram have accounts on TikTok. And as far as the legality of that, with such a large merger or acquisition, it would have to be publicly known. There would be paperwork filed. Let's not jump to conclusions, okay? In these fraught times when truth is so hard to come by, we need to remain dedicated to seeing evidence to prove our ideas about stuff. So don't just fall into online conspiracy theories. Okay, but here's the thing. At the end of the day, I do believe that governments have a responsibility to look out for the interests of their citizens, including their data privacy. And they shouldn't just allow these massive corporations, no matter how much we have an affinity for them, how much they entertain us, to just do whatever they want with our information. Around the world, we see different versions of this, like the GDPR in Europe. That's definitely the most robust and strict one worldwide. But even in my home country of Canada, we have the Canadian Personal Information Protection and Electronic Documents Act. I had to read that because that's such a long name. But from what I can tell from my research in the US, it's quite a bit more fragmented, with the California Privacy Rights Act being the most strict and the majority of states not having any protections at all. I just really think that if the American government represents the American people and not American corporations, they should have comprehensive data privacy laws that apply to all social media platforms, not just foreign ones. Because apparently Meta's unhindered use and abuse of American citizens' data is not a national security threat. Unfortunately, on this last point, I feel like there's not a ton of individual action that can be taken, but I do think it's really important to be aware of it and to just watch all of this play out with a critical and thoughtful lens. Oh, and definitely start posting on YouTube for real, though. I do believe that. As always, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this more casual, chatty style of video. You can let me know in the comments, and let me know if you think you'll continue to post and scroll on TikTok after this. I'm really, really curious to hear your thoughts. Okay, that's all for now. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.